Between 2000 and 2010, football fans witnessed a golden era filled with unforgettable stars. From Luis Figo to Lionel Messi, with icons like Kaká and Cristiano Ronaldo in between, the Ballon d'Or was lifted by some of the greatest names the game has ever known. But while these players reached the very peak of world football, their journeys after glory were far from simple. Behind the trophies came scandals, financial ruin, shocking controversies and personal struggles. And the story begins with a legend who embodied both brilliance and controversy. A player so talented he lit up every pitch he touched. And yet, one decision turned him into the most hated man in Spanish football. 2000. Luis Figo. At the start of the new millennium, one name stood above the rest: Luis Figo. The Portuguese maestro had it all: elegance on the ball, incredible dribbling, leadership, and a footballing brain that made him one of the most respected players in the world. Winning the 2000 Ballon d'Or felt like the natural reward for a man who had become Barcelona's icon, the face of a generation. But that same year, Figo made one of the most controversial decisions in football history. He accepted a then-record transfer of €60 million to Real Madrid, becoming the first Galactico of Florentino Perez's ambitious project. For Madrid, it was a masterstroke. They had stolen Barcelona's biggest star. For Barca fans, it was the ultimate act of betrayal. The reaction was immediate and brutal. Figo was showered with insults every time he touched the ball. His return to the Camp Nou in El Clasico became one of the most infamous matches in history. From bottles and lighters to coins and even a pig's head, objects rained down on the pitch whenever Figo approached the corner flag. The atmosphere was pure hatred, something rarely seen in football before or since. In that moment, the Ballon d'Or winner went from adored hero to sworn enemy. On the pitch, Figo continued to shine, winning La Liga titles and even the Champions League with Real Madrid. But the scars of that betrayal never fully disappeared. Even today, some Barcelona fans refuse to forgive him. Years later, Figo's path took an unexpected turn off the pitch. In 2015, he shocked fans by running for the FIFA presidency, presenting himself as the man who could clean up a governing body drowning in corruption scandals. At first, many believed he had the credibility to bring real change. But the campaign quickly fell apart. Behind the scenes, accusations of shady negotiations and political pressure mounted. Figo himself admitted the election was anything but democratic, and within weeks, he pulled out of the race. For many, the damage was done. The once untouchable symbol of class and professionalism now found his name tied to the same dirty politics he claimed to fight. Figo's betrayal and political battles showed how quickly glory can turn sour. But the next Ballon d'Or winner faced a different kind of downfall, one that came not from scandal, but from a body that betrayed him far too soon. 2001. Michael Owen. In 2001, football crowned its youngest Ballon d'Or winner in nearly 2 decades, Michael Owen. At just 22 years old, he was already the face of English football. With explosive pace, clinical finishing, and a fearless mentality, Owen had become Liverpool's golden boy. His unforgettable solo goal against Argentina at the 1998 World Cup had made him a national icon, and the Ballon d'Or confirmed what many believed, that Owen was destined to dominate the game for years to come. But fate had other plans. Owen's biggest rival wasn't a defender, but his own body. Hamstring injuries became a recurring nightmare, robbing him of the very speed that made him unstoppable. Just as quickly as he had risen, his career began to stall. His dream move to Real Madrid in 2004, part of the famous Galacticos era, should have cemented his status as a global superstar. Surrounded by legends like Zidane, Ronaldo and Beckham, Owen was expected to shine. He scored goals, 13 in his only season, but he never truly fit in. The move was seen as underwhelming, and soon, he was back in England. At Newcastle, the injuries worsened. Time and again, he found himself on the sidelines, watching rather than playing. A later spell at Manchester United brought trophies, but he was no longer the same electrifying striker who once terrified defences across Europe. For many, Michael Owen became one of football's greatest what-if stories. What if his body had held up? What if he had fulfilled the promise of his early years? Yet his struggles didn't end with retirement. Away from the pitch, Owen admitted he battled severe depression, revealing how deeply he suffered once the game that had defined him was gone. Financial troubles soon followed. His heavy investments in horse racing and other ventures cost him millions, while gambling losses only added to the chaos. The image of England's golden boy was replaced with that of a man fighting battles few had ever imagined. His Ballon d'Or triumph at 22 was supposed to mark the beginning of a dynasty. Instead, it became the highlight of a career cut short far too soon. From national hero to a player remembered more for what could have been, Owen's journey remains one of the most heartbreaking tales of modern football, and if Owen's fall was defined by injuries and unfulfilled promise, the next Ballon d'Or winner faced an entirely different kind of battle, one fought not only on the pitch, but in the middle of shocking scandals that stunned the world. 2002. Ronaldo Nazario. The 2002 Ballon d'Or belonged to a man who had already become a footballing legend, Ronaldo Luis Nazario de Lima. Known simply as O Fenomeno, he was the kind of striker defenders feared in their nightmares, a mix of power, skill and instinct that made him unstoppable when fit. But by 2002, Ronaldo's career had been written off by many. Endless knee injuries had sidelined him for almost 2 years, and some experts even claimed he might never return to the top. And yet, in one of the greatest comebacks the game has ever seen, Ronaldo returned to lead Brazil to their 5th World Cup triumph. His 2 goals in the final against Germany crowned him not only as the hero of Yokohama, but as the undisputed best player in the world. That Ballon d'Or wasn't just a trophy, it was a symbol of redemption. But if Ronaldo's comeback was legendary, his post-peak years were filled with controversy. Injuries continued to haunt him, and his battles with weight became a constant headline. His struggles weren't just physical, he was later diagnosed with hypothyroidism, a condition that made it nearly impossible for him to control his body the way he once had. Then came the scandal. In 2008, Ronaldo was caught in a highly publicized incident involving 3 trans escorts in Rio de Janeiro. The story dominated Brazilian and international media, and while Ronaldo claimed he was unaware of their identity at first, the damage to his reputation was immense. For a player once seen as the golden boy of Brazil, it was a shocking fall from grace. By the time he retired in 2011, at only 34 years old, the world had already moved on to new stars like Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo, but for fans, it was bittersweet. Ronaldo had given the world moments of pure magic, yet his career felt like a story of brilliance interrupted, never fully realized because of his body and the chaos around him. And while Ronaldo's scandals shocked Brazil, the next Ballon d'Or winner wasn't remembered for off-field chaos, but for disappearing almost completely from the spotlight. 2003. Pavel Nedvěd. In 2003, the Ballon d'Or went to a player who didn't always steal the headlines, but was impossible to ignore on the pitch, Pavel Nedvěd. The Czech midfielder was the engine of Juventus and the leader of his national team. With endless stamina, fierce determination and a thunderous right foot, Nedvěd was the kind of player who did everything: defend, attack, and inspire. His crowning moment came when he led Juventus to the Champions League final, earning him the award as Europe's best. But while his reputation as a hard-working warrior never faded, Nedvěd's story after football was much quieter than those of other Ballon d'Or winners. Instead of embracing the spotlight, he slowly disappeared from it. For years, he avoided interviews, rarely appeared in media, and lived a private life back in the Czech Republic. Still, controversy found him. As a Juventus director after retirement, his name surfaced in investigations into illegal betting and financial irregularities linked to the club's management. Though he avoided the kind of personal scandals that destroyed other stars, his legacy wasn't entirely untouched. The man, once admired for his discipline and professionalism, found himself dragged into the messy side of football politics. Unlike others from his era, Nedvěd never chased the fame of punditry or the glamour of coaching. He chose distance instead, a Ballon d'Or winner who, after the spotlight faded, quietly stepped away from football's stage. And while Nedvěd's post-football life was defined by silence and shadows, the next Ballon d'Or winner faced the opposite fate. A superstar striker whose entire career collapsed because of one decision. 2004. Andriy Shevchenko. In 2004, the Ballon d'Or went to Andriy Shevchenko, a striker whose name struck fear into defenders across Europe. At AC Milan, Sheva was unstoppable: clinical finishing, intelligent movement, and the ice-cold composure of a natural-born goalscorer. His partnership with Kaká and Inzaghi made Milan one of the deadliest teams of the era, and the Ukrainian forward seemed destined to become a San Siro legend forever. But then came the move that changed everything. In 2006, Shevchenko joined Chelsea in a blockbuster deal worth around €45 million, a transfer pushed heavily by club owner Roman Abramovich. The expectations were enormous. Instead of elevating the Premier League, Shevchenko struggled badly. Injuries, loss of form, and a playing style that didn't fit the English game turned him from superstar to one of the league's most famous flops. Within a few seasons, his reputation as one of Europe's deadliest strikers had been badly damaged. Off the pitch, things didn't go smoothly either. Back in Ukraine, Shevchenko invested heavily in business projects that collapsed, costing him millions. Rumours swirled about financial difficulties and failed ventures, tarnishing the image of the once flawless striker. Eventually, Shevchenko returned home to Ukraine and even entered politics, trying to reinvent himself away. And if Shevchenko's decline was painful, the next Ballon d'Or winner experienced something even more shocking, a story of wild parties, lost millions, arrests, and a fall so dramatic it stunned the entire football world. 2005, Ronaldinho. If there was ever a footballer who played with pure joy, it was Ronaldinho. In the mid-2000s, he wasn't just the best player in the world, he was a magician, an entertainer, a showman. With that trademark smile, dazzling dribbles, and tricks no one else dared to try, he turned every match into a spectacle. In 2005, when he lifted the Ballon d'Or, it felt like the game itself was celebrating him. At Barcelona, he reached untouchable heights. From destroying defences in La Liga to humiliating Real Madrid at the Bernabeu with a performance so good that even Madrid fans gave him a standing ovation. Ronaldinho was football's happiest superstar. Kids copied his tricks, brands lined up for his smile, and he was hailed as the player who inspired a generation, including a young Lionel Messi. But after the peak came one of the steepest falls the sport has ever seen. By 2008, his love of nightlife began catching up with him. Partying, lack of discipline, and declining fitness turned the world's best into a shadow of himself. Barcelona let him go, and while he showed flashes at AC Milan, he was no longer the magician who once ruled Europe. Then came the scandals. In Brazil, Ronaldinho faced huge tax problems. His assets were frozen in a massive evasion case. Reports estimated he lost tens of millions, a shocking fall for a man who had once earned close to $100 million through contracts and endorsements. The lowest point came in 2020. Ronaldinho and his brother were arrested in Paraguay for entering the country with fake passports. What began as a bizarre story turned into a global shock. The two-time FIFA World Player of the Year spent over a month in prison before being released under house arrest. Images of Ronaldinho behind bars spread worldwide, showing just how far the golden boy of football had fallen. Once one of the richest athletes alive, he was left almost broke, surviving largely on sponsorship deals and exhibitions. The smile remained, but the reality was tragic. The happiest player in football history had lost almost everything. Ronaldinho's rise and fall remains one of the most unforgettable stories in the game, proof that talent and joy can take you to the very top, but lack of discipline can just as quickly bring it all crashing down. And if Ronaldinho's decline felt like a cautionary tale, the next Ballon d'Or winner would prove that even the most respected leaders aren't immune to controversy. 2006, Fabio Cannavaro. In 2006, the football world celebrated a rare sight, a defender lifting the Ballon d'Or. Fabio Cannavaro had just captained Italy to World Cup glory in Berlin, leading with courage, discipline, and an almost flawless tournament. While strikers and playmakers usually stole the spotlight, Cannavaro proved that a defender could also be the face of world football. His Ballon d'Or win was a tribute to leadership, resilience, and Italy's triumph. But just like so many before him, his story after glory wasn't without controversy. 3 years later, in 2009, Cannavaro tested positive for cortisone, sparking doping accusations that tarnished his clean image. Though he insisted the substance was linked to medical treatment after a wasp sting, the news spread quickly, and the whispers of scandal never truly went away. Then came more trouble. In 2015, Italian authorities seized Cannavaro's villa in Naples over unpaid taxes. Instead of stepping back quietly, he was arrested for illegally entering his own home while it was under police order. Though he later turned to coaching, his managerial career has been modest, with stints in China and the Middle East far away from the European spotlight. The man, once celebrated as the world's best player, never reached the same heights after hanging up his boots. Cannavaro's Ballon d'Or story remains unique, a defender at the very top of the football world, but his post-playing years proved that even heroes built on discipline and respect can find themselves caught in scandal. And while Cannavaro's reputation took hits after retirement, the next Ballon d'Or winner's fall was even more painful. A story of injuries, disappointment, and lawsuits that left fans wondering how it all went so wrong. 2007, Kaká. In 2007, the football world was dazzled by Kaká, the elegant Brazilian playmaker whose style combined grace, intelligence, and deadly precision. At AC Milan, he was untouchable, gliding past defenders with ease, scoring goals from distance, and delivering performances that made him the natural heir to Brazil's tradition of flair. That year, he led Milan to Champions League glory, finishing as the competition's top scorer and cementing his place as the best player on the planet. The Ballon d'Or was his, and many believed a new era had begun. But within just a few years, Kaká's story became one of football's greatest tragedies. In 2009, he signed for Real Madrid in a blockbuster transfer worth €67 million, joining Cristiano Ronaldo in Florentino Perez's new Galacticos project. The expectations were enormous. Fans imagined a dynasty, with Kaká as the conductor of the world's most glamorous team. Instead, injury struck, again and again. A series of knee and muscle problems robbed Kaká of his explosiveness, his rhythm, and his confidence. The smooth, gliding runs of Milan vanished, replaced by frustration and long absences. While Ronaldo flourished, Kaká became a forgotten figure, watching from the sidelines as Madrid's project moved on without him. By the time he left Spain, many considered his signing one of the club's biggest disappointments. After leaving Europe, Kaká returned to Brazil with São Paulo before finishing his career in MLS at Orlando City, where he showed flashes of his old magic between 2014 and 2017. But even during this period, his personal life was shaken. In 2015, he divorced his childhood sweetheart, Caroline Selico, with whom he had 2 children. For many, the split was shocking. The couple had been portrayed as a symbol of stability and faith, admired for their devotion both on and off the pitch. And if Kaká's decline was marked by frustration and quiet disappointment, the next Ballon d'Or winner would redefine what it meant to be a global superstar, conquering records, dominating headlines, but also facing controversies far from the pitch. 2008. Cristiano Ronaldo. In 2008, the football world officially entered a new era. That year, Cristiano Ronaldo lifted his first Ballon d'Or, the reward for a breathtaking season with Manchester United. With 42 goals in all competitions, dazzling stepovers, and a Champions League triumph in Moscow, he had become the most complete player in the game. The award marked the beginning of a dynasty, one that would see Ronaldo and Lionel Messi dominate the next decade. But while Ronaldo's career was defined by unmatched professionalism, relentless work ethic, and record-breaking achievements, his journey has also been clouded by controversies off the pitch. The first storm came in 2009, when he was accused of rape in Las Vegas. Though the case was initially dropped due to lack of evidence, it was reopened years later in 2018, reigniting global headlines. Ronaldo denied the allegations, but the shadow of the case has lingered, reminding fans that even the most polished icons are not immune to scandal. Then came financial troubles. During his time at Real Madrid, Ronaldo was found guilty of tax fraud in Spain. In 2018, he agreed to pay a staggering €19 million fine to settle the case, a rare public dent in the image of a player often seen as untouchable. Even his career choices brought drama. In 2022, his second spell at Manchester United ended in disaster. After clashing publicly with coach Erik ten Hag and giving an explosive interview criticising the club, Ronaldo's contract was terminated by mutual consent. For a player who had once ruled Old Trafford as a young star, the bitter ending shocked fans worldwide. Yet despite these controversies, Ronaldo's career achievements remain extraordinary. Multiple Champions League titles, league triumphs in England, Spain, and Italy, the all-time Champions League top scorer, and over 800 career goals. His relentless pursuit of perfection changed the game forever. But his story shows that global superstardom comes at a cost. And while Ronaldo was opening the door to a decade of dominance, the next Ballon d'Or winner would be the man destined to become his eternal rival, a quiet genius from Argentina who would change football forever. 2009 and 2010, Lionel Messi. By 2009, the football world had a new king. Lionel Messi, the quiet genius from Rosario, lifted his first Ballon d'Or at just 22 years old, ushering in a new era. He had already dazzled fans with his dribbling vision and goals, but under Pep Guardiola at Barcelona, Messi became unstoppable. His first Ballon d'Or marked the beginning of a dominance that would reshape football for more than a decade. In 2010, he won it again, back-to-back, confirming what many already knew. Messi wasn't just the future of the game. He was rewriting its history. On the pitch, Messi's story became one of records, trophies, and magical moments. But like many Ballon d'Or winners before him, his life off the field was far from free of controversy. In 2016, Messi was convicted of tax fraud in Spain. Alongside his father, he was found guilty of hiding millions through offshore companies. Though his 21-month prison sentence was later converted into a fine of over €2 million, the scandal shook his image. Lawsuits also followed over image rights and business disputes. Though most were settled, they added shadows to a career defined by brilliance. Then came 2021, one of the most shocking chapters in football history. After more than 20 years at Barcelona, Messi was forced to leave the club due to financial chaos. His tearful farewell press conference became an unforgettable image, the greatest player in Barca's history, crying as he said goodbye. For fans, it was the end of an era, and for Messi himself, a painful separation from the club where he had grown up and become a legend. Messi would go on to continue his career in Paris, adding more titles and finally achieving the one trophy that had eluded him: the World Cup with Argentina in 2022. But for the Ballon d'Or years of 2009 and 2010, what stands out is the beginning of an empire. Messi stepping onto the world stage as the player who would change football forever, while also facing the pressures, scandals, and heartbreak that come with being the greatest.